This is Family Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Connie Lansberg, and we're going to talk about the law of attraction, manifestation, vibrational energy, among other things. You're the creator of the uh, transformational entertainment, and you have a book, Healing is a Song, and we're going to get into a lot of this stuff today. But I want to welcome you to the Family Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing tonight?
Really well. Thank you for having me, Phantom.
Well, it's fun to talk to people. You know, this is what we like to do. These live podcasts because we think kind of in the moment live interviews are a thing for us.
Yeah.
We don't like kind of staged, prepped stuff. We like to do it in the moment. But I do appreciate you being on the line tonight with us. And a couple questions before we get to the heart of your story is like, what motivates you, and why do you do what you do?
I have always written, even when I was a kid, stories and mostly poems. I used to do long streams of poems. So words, words, words in all their form are beautiful to me. So, and singing words is even better. So I write songs and I write scripts and I write books, both mostly it was fiction books. And Your Healing is a Song is my first nonfiction book. So that's what motivates me, as well as my love of words. But there came a point in my artistic career where I decided I didn't want to be what was needed from other people, and that I needed to find out everything that was inside of me. And that was the goal. What is inside of me? So that really motivated me. And, my love of music as well. Just being able to sing. It's actually more singing is for me just
Is
the
the thing.
best.
Well, the voice is an instrument, so I
It's
appreciate that.
yeah.
And I think a lot of times, like we're going to talk about law of attraction, I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big believer in kind of frequency and vibration. I'm a synthesist. We talked about that before we got on. And the idea of it is playing with like waveforms and sounds and like what can drive harmony or
Yeah.
disharmony or distortion or different vibes and different feels, playing with I like to play with like the range of what you can do with something. Something might be a little bit discordant,
Yeah.
but it might actually, like, if you have enough layers of sound, some discordance or things that might appear to be off kind of work together as a sound painting.
That's
You
right,
know,
because it's a tension and release,
yeah,
and it mirrors our lives. There's ups and downs, there's conflict and release. That it's natural. It's how things work. There's nothing wrong with a little discordant. It can always be interesting.
yeah. So they right. I love about jazz. The idea, like jazz and modal jazz, fusion jazz, bebop.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Coltrane and Herbie Hancock, Miles Davis, Sun
yeah,
Ra, all that. I like the form because I like the where you can go,
yes,
and that it seems very expansive,
yes, yes.
in terms of
Good
that
word.
you don't
Expansive.
get, yeah, tied down to. I tend to not to like to be tied down, and I started with poetry, probably like you. I like to write. I wrote a lot of poetry. I was inspired by the Victorian poets like Blake,
Hmm.
Tennyson, Wordsworth, and then a lot of Harlem Renaissance stuff. And then I found like, well, poetry and songs are different. The meter's different, and so
Yes,
something that works as a poem doesn't always work translate to a song. It has to go into a different form to actually fit in a song. And so
yes.
if it's
Often
telling those stories.
often when I'm writing, I always, mostly always write the words first. So, and I'm quite literary. In that, like in my fantasy book, The Perfect Tear is quite literary, because I like how words are, create tones and stuff. So I'll write a song, and then when I put it to music, I find I have to change stuff quite a bit to make it fit with the music. So it is very different. Poetry is quite free because you're not tied down to a rhythm. Whereas when I start working with 4/4 or 3/4 time, I now have to change the words.
Yeah,
So
you have to get it to fit the feel. It's kind of
yeah,
like a feel based. So I found a lot of times is I would have all these poems and I would try to get them, I'd have to end up changing them. Then I started going like, okay, why I'll read the concept, I'll have it in my head, but I'll open mic it on my keyboard and kind of just flow state it just
yeah,
to, and I have an idea. I have like a kind of a roadmap, but it's
yeah,
not word for word. I would kind of let it happen. I
yeah,
find that as I get older, I do that more.
yeah.
I don't know. Do you find that that works for you, or do you have different ways of?
I'm not a musician per se.
Mhm.
I work with words and my voice and melody, right? So I really do tend to. I like to write in a way where I can talk you the story and it makes sense. I can say it to you and it makes sense. So I'm more like that, and yeah. Every once in a while, I write a song over a piece of music. That's a little more rare, but I do that sometimes. Like maybe 15% of the time, I'll write over a piece of music because something just comes into my head and out it flows. And it's the process of writing is actually what kind of shows me my soul gift, and also it provides such an expansion, and which is why we're here. Our souls need to expand. I mean, people don't realize the human dilemma is that our egos want us to stay small and safe, and they don't care if that hurts. The ego does not feel anything. It simply has an agenda to get us to death safely.
Mhm.
Whereas our souls want to expand, expand, expand. And
Yeah,
there,
transformational. Where there's
there,
a kind of dichotomy, because then you're kind of in this kind of
yeah,
battle.
yes, yes. And we can't let the ego win.
Yeah, I've always I like to be able to break through the glass ceiling. I like the very, genre bend, cross genre, don't
Yeah,
stay in the lane,
yeah.
do the thing that's like, well, that's not standard way of doing it. Well,
Oh, but
why would you want to do it that way?
you're on the right track because look, I heard somebody say, and I think this is very true, that authenticity is actually one of the highest vibrational states to be in. And that means that you're not being influenced by what's around you. You are letting the muses go through you and
Yeah,
out it comes, and you don't judge it. Now, that's not to say you can't fix it up
yeah,
later, because
you can
all art needs, you need
yeah,
to work
tweak it.
at
Yeah,
it.
I
You
mean,
need to.
I think
But
all great artists, like you talk about the muse, like I think we all can channel. And I think
oh,
there's a lot, yeah, right.
oh, I'm going to tell you, none of this is coming from us. None of it. Art does not come from human beings. It comes from a multidimensional place where there's higher dimensional beings wanting to work through us. And if you're open to that, because honestly, there are times when I look at what I've written, I think, did I write that?
Yeah,
Like often I'll read my books and think, I cannot believe I wrote that. And I know for a fact that, and I think every artist knows that it's coming from somewhere else. So if you're trying to do something or copying something, you're not going to get anywhere with it. You have to be brave and just say, you know what? This is what's flowing through me, and I'm going to trust it.
yeah, it's like a download. Like I heard people like in the Hendrix was like famous for kind of saying like, the universe gave it to me. Like there was this one moment he was playing with the Isley Brothers
Yeah.
in like the 60s, and he wasn't big yet. And in the middle of a recording session, he went and did this thing that wasn't their song. And they said, "What is this? This is not even the song." And he said, "Well, the universe just gave me this, and I got to put it down." And he was very much into picking
Yeah.
up those cues and getting those downloads because he
Yes.
was in tune. Sometimes you get people who are really in tune and
Yes.
they pick it up.
That's right. Eric Clapton once said, and I tried this and it's true. If you hold, like, just hold a pencil in it comes, and you start writing things down. Things will just come endlessly if you just hold the pencil and you're open and say, okay, let it in.
Yeah.
It's I had to put the pencil down finally because I was writing so much stuff. So
Yeah, well, sometimes you have to get away from the download. Like, you have to
yeah,
go walk away, go for a walk, do something else. Like, I
yeah,
get on my mountain bike because I can't write when I'm mountain biking. I gotta concentrate or I'm gonna fall off the bike. But, like, just give myself something else
yeah,
to do, but then that gives me the space
yeah,
because sometimes I have to get away I have to have a quiet space, or I have to be in the woods, or I have to be biking or hiking or somewhere, not at my piano, so I don't do it. So I
yeah,
I give myself a breather.
exactly. You need, yes, yes, totally agree with you.
So vibration and the law of attraction, like maybe you can talk about what your concepts are on this, is like in terms of, 'cause you came up with this idea, you kind of trademarked the transformational entertainment. And how do you define that, and what does that mean for you?
I been sort of okay. I don't like to sound psychic or anything like that or channeling, but I think I found out I've been doing it for a very long time. I just never said anything. And then I was researching the concept of karma for the third book in the Series Gift series, which I learned. I thought I was writing fantasy, and I'm basically writing a multi-dimensional autobiography. So that's how crazy this stuff gets when you don't really understand. And so I was researching karma, and I came across this woman teaching this thing called soul realignment, and it just rang bells in me. I thought, I'm going to do this. I didn't even know why. I just thought, I'm going to do it. And all of a sudden, by doing soul realignment, by learning to do this and becoming like a 5 levels practitioner, it gave me the language that I didn't have before. And it gave me all the words for what I knew, but didn't really have any words for.
Kind of a frame for
So
it. Yeah.
that what I took a marketing course from her because all musicians are startup companies. You have to do it yourself. You have to. There's no
Mhm.
more record companies, especially for like jazz and stuff. And someone like me, no, I had to learn to do it. I just had to keep going. So I took this marketing course, and there came a thing where she said, if you're not frightened by it, it's not yours. And you see, I've had this idea, knowledge, this knowing that music, there was a missing piece to what our knowledge about what it was doing. And it was
Mhm.
beyond sound healing. And through my work with the Akashic Records, I discovered I have I think it's a 472 frequency in my voice, which I then learned later is about emotional balance. So my voice I can be in a room and sort of balance the energy of the room I'm singing in, right?
Mhm.
And then I discovered that when the human mind has a consciousness about the energy the song is working with, because all the songs are working with energy, vibration, I realized then it starts to clear, dislodge stuck and calcified emotion from the emotional body. And this was like frightening to me. I thought, oh my God, I'll just keep this to myself. And I'm not going down that rabbit hole. And then, like, my guides that I work with all the time were like, no, sorry, you have to tell people what you're doing. It's not fair. You have to tell them why they're in that room with you and what you're doing. And I was like, oh God, oh God. Now, this was during COVID.
Mhm.
In Australia, we got locked down probably more than anybody in the world in Melbourne. And there'd be these periods where, because we're a island country, there'd be no cases of COVID and they would unlock us. So I set up a whole series of gigs at this beautiful hotel in the city. And because there was so excuse me, because there was so little going on, the room was just packed.
Oh, wow.
I hadn't had a gig for a year and a half because of COVID.
Yeah.
So I remember thinking, oh my God. I wrote out the set list, and I wrote out on the set list for I put them on all the tables, what the energy was the song was working with, which is what I know how to do. And that's what's trademarked. The fact that you would have to come to me and I would have to see if you had the frequencies in your voice and teach you how to find the energy. So nobody else really can do this at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole new modality. It is brand new. And I was just terrified. But after the third song, I explained what was on their tables and what I was doing. And I just know the musicians behind me were going, what? What?
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Heart was pounding. I was terrified. I thought I'm going to look like it, but I just did it because I knew it was real.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the response was amazing. Like 100 people in that room, and they were like, "Oh my God, that was so cool! Oh, that's so neat! Can I take this home with me?" The what I call my menus. And now I do it all the time. And you know what? I've lost musicians because of it.
Oh wow, they didn't like it. They didn't like the idea of it.
Because they didn't want to be part of this, but the really really good guys, they've stayed. They kind of get it. So transformational entertainment, through my voice and my recordings, when you learn what the energy of the song is, your conscious mind sort of connects with your subconscious and allows this work to happen. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, you don't know the energy. Music still, live music, let me say this, music made with computers do nothing for the human body. Nothing. Only live music, only real instruments played by real people. So yes, a guitarist sitting on stage singing, after 4 minutes, your body's vibration will be going higher by 0.4%. Now that seems like small, but that's quite a big leap for the human body to suddenly be vibrating 0.4% faster than it was before. And this is a wonderful state to be in. And this is why music feels so good.
Well, it
Makes
feels like it's very uplifting. Well, I mean, it's uplifting and it's
you uplifting your vibration. It is making you vibrate quicker. The faster the vibration, the better you feel. So it is then when in that state, my voice and your awareness of the energy will then help to dislodge things like anxiety, sadness, betrayal. It will infuse, happiness, power. So my gigs are mixed up. We're dislodging stuff and we're infusing stuff. And when people finally realize what music really is, and this is my goal, to get them to understand it is an absolutely amazing tool to help you clear your emotional body, because all the affirmations in the world, all the thinking, all the good feeling thoughts cannot counteract the resistant beliefs you have that you don't know you have.
yeah. Music
Every
kind of cuts through it. It cuts
it's
through it.
we know what we need to be doing, and we wonder why isn't it working. The law of attraction is actually extremely difficult to put into action.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd all be doing it,
Well, it
wouldn't
makes
we?
a lot of sense because I've always been a big believer in like frequency modulation and
Yeah.
manifestation, vibrational energy. I mean, if you get into like funk music, you know,
Mm.
funk music, like Parlor and Funkadelic, and they actually talked about in their songs the healing power of funk
Yes.
itself, and they had these kind of happenings
Yes.
where these songs were going like 10, 15 minutes, and
Yes.
they were like these big, it's kind of like the Grateful Dead, back in the 60s, in the 70s, they had these kind of happenings, where people would get together and there's the musical happenings and there's like these jams that were very, people would follow the band. Like people, the Deadheads would just follow the, why? Because they felt like they were getting something from them.
Yes, they were. Absolutely. That is what, so it's just very empowering for us to know that there's actually another step up. There's another step for this. And that's why I wrote the book, to try to explain how this all works. And then in the second half of the book is a workbook. And I've got a playlist on Spotify with all the songs in order.
Mhm.
And people can either work with individual emotions or they can just run the whole playlist. But all they have to do is know the energy. They don't have to meditate. They don't have to be sitting and listening. They don't need to care about the lyrics. They don't need to do anything but think, oh, this song, I'm shadowing you, is working with anxiety. Sorry. This is interesting that I'm coughing while I'm talking about this. There's like, what niggling little thing, what am I scared of is going to happen now? Like I'm shadowing you works with anxiety, and 6 listens will start releasing layers of that stuck emotion. Because here's the other thing. This is what I love, and what people, if they understood this, I have exercises in the book as well to help you do this, because I don't know if it's a dirty word, but it does take some mental discipline. You
Mhm.
have to, first of all, discipline happens when you know that the work involved is going to be worth it. That's where discipline comes from. I really want this for myself. Therefore, I must do this. And that's sort of it. And I think I've made the discipline requirement probably as small as it can be, just to get you going. And this is for people who don't like meditation, can't meditate. I don't want, people should not be meditation shamed.
Mhm.
We live very busy lives. And so I wanted to create something that could be done while you're driving in the car, while you're washing the dishes, making dinner. You can just listen to it and refer to your list and, oh, this is what that song's working with. That's all you need to do. And then it works. You
Yeah,
just
I
need
think,
to go.
but you
And
have
so
to, yeah, you have to actually at least get into the song, You have
you,
to.
you need to know what the energy is. That's it.
Mhm.
And then then have the song playing, and it will work in your emotional body, releasing stuck energy. Now, here's the thing about energy. Everything is energy. Everything. And yet we like to give stories. We tell stories around energy, and we give energy names. We give the slow moving energies names like sadness, depression,
Mhm.
anxiety, that sorrow. Those are just that all slow moving emotions that our bodies don't like. Our bodies don't like those slow moving emotions. When an emotion is vibrating slower than your body is, we try to ignore it, tamp it down, just stop feeling it. And that's what causes it to be stuck.
You had like
And then it
bad
will
luck.
keep
Mm.
trying to get released by bringing events into your life, just little things that say, hey, I'm still stuck here. I would like to go. And if you can't recognize that's what's happening, the events will get bigger and bigger. It says the universe whispers in your ear, then it sort of knocks you on the forehead, and then it wallops you. We all
Yeah,
have to learn to listen much quicker so that the wallop doesn't happen. So
yeah.
so the fast moving energies we love, happiness, fun, joy, clarity, satisfaction. Those are the emotions we love, and they move through us quickly and no problem. But it's those slow moving emotions that are causing all of our problems. And there is now, with transformational entertainment, a really easy way to start releasing that. No, and you'll feel fine. Like, it's really gentle. There's not going to be, because, here's the thing, and I think I say it in the book, you don't have to relive trauma to release it.
Yeah. I think that's what some people feel like. Sometimes they don't want to go into it because
Right.
they think they're going to rehash it.
Exactly. And they don't
But,
have to.
but
Not
what do
what's
you
happening.
think about, yeah. Well, I was wondering about that form of jazz. Why do you feel like the genre of jazz helps you with this, the process of this transformational entertainment? Why does that genre work the best?
Firstly, it's the genre I'm in.
Mm.
And it doesn't actually matter what I sing, because the
Mhm.
frequency is in my voice no matter what I sing. But Herbie Hancock, and there's a quote in the book, Herbie Hancock says, this is music for the soul. This is
Mm.
soul music.
Mhm.
What I know he means by that is that jazz musicians, beyond any other kind of musician, have to be in the now moment
Yeah,
to
present moment. Yeah.
operate. They have to stay in the now moment, and they have to listen, and they have to be open, and they have to be non-judgmental. They accept and build, and being in the middle of that as the singer is never gets old. It's thrilling. I mean, I work with wonderful musicians here in Australia. So I don't even know how that happened, because I didn't study jazz. I was never going to be a singer, even. I was
Mhm.
never even going to be a singer. It's like just
You
kind of
found your way. You found you're on the frequency.
pulled into it, because I didn't, at the time, never realized this is where it was leading. And so jazz music is just all that vibration. Their vibration is raising. The band together is vibrating faster than the audience and pulling up the audience's vibration. So it's called entrainment. The thing
Mhm.
that is vibrating faster will then pull in the slower vibrating thing until they're vibrating at the same point. That's why jazz is really good for this.
Yeah, because it's like a law of attraction and manifestation and all that vibrational energy. And it's just the fact that you're in the present moment, the fact that like jazz allows you to kind of be like not wedded to the past, right? And you're in the present moment. And if you have a key change or a note change, it's accepted as that's part of the process, that you're
Yes,
not wedded to like Chopin or Bach or some composed piece. Like you have a structure, but you can go into discordance. You could go into like the drummer could go into something that's not like typical. Is
yes,
not a typical structure. Is a very atypical, and it can go often come back. And like a Coltrane type of soloist, they could just go into like all kinds of levels,
yeah,
but then you come back to a structure and then go back, and you could it's kind of like like the ocean go waves going up and down. It's not like a calm ocean. It's a structure that allows a lot of I call it expansiveness.
which is our goal. This is the goal of all humans, whether they know it or not, is expansion, more and more and more. And that, yeah, that's why jazz, but also I was singing pop earlier on, when somebody said, "Oh, come and sing with me." I'm like, I mean, I'm not unknown. It's not
Yeah.
unknown that I
Yeah.
did sing. I sang in church and stuff like that, but it never
Mhm.
occurred to me that this was a job. And yeah, so I used to sing pop, but I could never ever remember the words, because they didn't make any sense. And then I went to a singing teacher. I thought, I better get serious about this. I went to a singing teacher, and he said, "Oh, you're a jazz singer." I said, "No, I've never done jazz. I don't know jazz. I don't even know any jazz songs." And he goes, "No, you're a jazz singer." I said, "Why?" He says, "Because you can't sing on the beat."
Yeah.
So he gave me a jazz tune.
You're
It was
right on it.
like the whole world fell into place. The melodies were beautiful and suited my voice. The words made sense and I never forgot them. And then it really inspired my writing in that now I can write quite concise stories, which I love. And then to hear what the boys do with something I wrote, there's
Yeah.
nothing more thrilling. It's thrilling what they do with my music. It's just beyond. So,
I
yeah.
find it very cathartic, the whole
Oh,
process of like
no. Be able to,
creation. Yeah, with
yeah,
you know, when
be
you're in
able
that
to
creation
share
moment.
it with what I love, helping people clear their emotional bodies, which will lead to being able to use the law of attraction properly.
Hmm.
While doing the thing I love, I can't imagine anything better. I mean, how did I get here?
Well, yeah, it's just so amazing. I love, I've been playing since I was like 8 years old. I
Yeah.
started on a clarinet, and then I got into I wanted to be able to write, so I got into piano.
Yeah.
It was more of a writing instrument, like a guitar is a writing instrument, and
Yeah.
piano is too. And then I found like synthesizers, I could write everything, and I could
Yeah.
play all the parts. And it's
Yeah.
just the idea of being able to create like sound paintings was my
Yes.
my mode. Is like I like the expressive nature that you can layer sound like you can layer paint,
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
and what you could do, sort of evoking emotions and evoking feelings. You can tell stories with the notes, and that's what I liked about. That's what I still love about like music. It's a very direct way for me to tell a story.
Mm,
They can, and I don't have to wait for it to get published. I can just get it out into the world like right now and
yeah.
go out and go on YouTube and start playing, or go
Yeah.
on SoundCloud and push it out. Like I can just immediately get it to the world the way the world is
Yeah.
set up now,
Mm,
and get my vibes out.
yeah. Yeah. It's changed a lot. It's really, if the independent musician works hard, well, I won't say that. Working hard is a very bad energy. Puts the effort needed into it, we can get quite a long way on our own, which is really fun. I mean, I'm not, little humble brag. I am the highest streamed jazz artist in Australia.
Mhm.
Even the really famous guys, more than them, simply because I understood I need to do this myself. No, nobody's coming to save me. Nobody's going to choose me. I have to do it. I have to choose me and put the effort in to build this career. So
And it's just like the idea,
money.
yeah. But the
Hard,
like,
expensive.
but like you find emotional mastery, right, in the process of understanding like the vibrations and the connection to the emotions. Like people maybe didn't understand it, you
Mm,
know. Like when people hear music and they get a feeling, they
mm,
get pictures to come back, and they might not fully understand the connection between what the music is making them feel like.
mm.
But if you start to dive into it, like you're doing it, you wrote your book, and you
Yeah,
started to realize, hey, I'm seeing a connection.
yeah.
I'm seeing a pattern. I'm
There,
seeing something that I could relay, like a concept.
it's really interesting. I don't look and find out the energy I'm working with in the song till after it's done. So there's nothing that's influencing the songs I'm getting. It's only afterwards, and sometimes they make total sense, the energy, and
Mhm.
sometimes I think, oh, that's really interesting. I don't question it because it is what it is, and I know the information I receive is correct. Um,
Mhm.
but they sometimes they are quite logical, and other times they're not. And so, just by giving people the missing link in sound healing, this is kind of just the missing link that takes sound healing, the frequency of music, the frequency of my voice, and then the knowledge of the energy takes sound healing to a whole nother level that can be done by yourself. Now, this is another goal I have.
I'm
I've spent
listening. Yeah.
years doing healing stuff. You're trying to find out why things are blocked, why you can't get anywhere, why, the artist journey. So expensive, and I just keep thinking, how do other people do this? Like, I want people who don't have the funds that it takes to go a deep dive into healing. I want them to be able to do it for themselves. I mean, that's why the ebook will probably only be $5, $5, and you can start making truly impactful actions in your life by just using the exercises in the book and the playlist. So I want
Exactly.
people to be able to do this themselves. We need human beings to get into this healing process fast, because look at the world.
Yeah. Yeah. You need people to kind of get on board, because like I think a lot of people need a little help,
Yes,
because they don't know. And
yes, we
the
all need.
idea of like music, listening to music, it's always been something to me. I was a music fan before I was a musician.
Yeah,
And I always found that music was like a refuge. For
yeah,
like I would find a solace, I would find inspiration, I'd find passion, I'd find all kinds from listening to like everything. I like all genres. And so depending on my mood, I go to a country, I listen to a Johnny Cash thing, or I go listen to a Brubeck thing, or I go listen to like Johnny Lydon and the Sex Pistols because I want to get into something like that. But
yeah,
yeah, whatever I was in the mood for, I would find an answer in music.
yes. All the answers are in the music. This is like Pythagoras knew that when he said the true um, use of music is to anchor our souls into our bodies. And, you know, beyond that music, okay, there's the other thing with the raising your vibration. It usually takes something brand new, an action. It's an action. It's not a thought, right? You're not going to get out of this by thinking. These are things you actually have to do, right? That raises your vibration, and it's usually really scary, which is often why people hesitate or can't make that step into the new action to raise their vibration, to then attract a different reality. So, guess what? Music was given to us because it is the only other thing that raises our vibration without being scary and feeling good.
Yeah.
So that's what music really is for. If you go to, say, a live gig and you know that, geez, my vibration is now 0.4% higher, what can I do to keep this going? It might give you the impetus to do a new action that gets you closer to what you want, right?
Mhm.
But the other thing is, by knowing the energy the song is working with and getting rid of that stuck energy, you now have space for a faster, better energy to come through, like clarity
Yeah,
or
to get attracted to a better vibe, you know?
yes,
It
you
leaves
and
you open, like, it leaves more room, like, in your soul to
yes,
expand if you're stuck, right? If you go and raise your vibration by being, brought into this, this zone that
yes,
actually heals you and then leaves room for your expansion, right?
exactly. I mean, healing. People, this word is bandied about. What is healing? Really simple. It's getting rid of stuck energy. That's it. That's what healing is. Getting rid of the energy stuck in your body that wants to get out. It desperately wants to get out, and it will keep bringing things to you. So it comes up again, again, again. And if you ignore it or unaware that you're making this happen, you're going to stay stuck. So I just think critical mass has happened. I think we're starting to understand on a quite a large level that we create our own reality. I call that radical responsibility. Like, why wouldn't you want that? Why? I create everything, good and bad. So if I'm creating the bad, I can create good. Let's not get so upset with the bad. Just say, I did not want that. What am
Mhm.
I believing that made that happen? And then I become a detective. I'm lucky because I know how to clear blocks and restrictions because I'm a soul realignment practitioner. I do have a little thing on my website called a mini reading. It's not very mini at all, but I give it at a special thing where I tell you your soul gift, your soul group traits, and I heal where most of us have, like divine source energy. That's what we run on. There's a plug. We have an energetic plug that's often damaged just through past life experiences and trauma in this life. So, and I heal that as well. So that's even that amount of information can change your life, can transform your life. Because as I said, you and I are both, I'm pretty sure, divine communication. We like to talk, we like to write, it's
Yeah.
part of who we are, and it makes us realize that we're divine creatures, and everybody has a gift.
Yeah,
And
everybody
there's
has the power of that creation. I just worry in this age of automation and AI and machines that you go to a music festival and there's not a live musician and there's somebody running a machine. It
not that
doesn't feel like it doesn't give me the elevation that I got from seeing like Sun Ra or watching Herbie Hancock or seeing Weather Report or like that doesn't make me feel. It feels like it's not really pulling it. I mean, it's replicating sounds and it seems like it's music, but it's not really the true music that my body needs, my
it's
soul.
exactly. It seems like it's music. Now I don't know if I'm a one-man band here, but I'm going to explain to people why AI music is never going to be able to do this ever. So I'm not scared of AI music because it can't do what I can do. It
Yeah,
can't
it
do
doesn't
it like
have that real. Yeah,
it
it's
won't.
there's nothing like somebody with a human voice, like a tenor or baritone saxophone, a real drummer, somebody on the keys, somebody playing like a string. Like this live instrumentation is something about like the frequency levels, the actual, and it also people have forgotten like human beings they bring their soul into the instrument, right? And so they're channeling like the muse, but they're also bringing their inner subconscious and all that feeling, and that's a lot of expertise.
Yes.
And the people who are using the machines are getting instant expertise that's just cloning stuff that was already done,
Yes.
right? And it's not the same as Coltrane or
No.
Davis or any great jazz musician
No.
actually in the moment giving you that snapshot of their soul and connecting to the muse. It's
Yeah.
not doing that. So it
No.
might appear to be doing it, but it's not really doing it. So you're not getting you're kind of getting junk food music.
You said it. It's not good for you. It's actually not good for you. So I hope people learn that AI music is doing their bodies no good, because guess what? Energy, emotions, they're in our bodies. Even though we're telling ourselves stories and giving these emotions names, I mean, giving the energy names, they're in our body. So music that does not have true frequencies and does not have a soul is no good for your body at all. And it's really funny in the spiritual community. Oh, they all want to ascend. Like ascend what? Like this, like what is that? No, unfortunately, you actually have to get back into your body.
Yeah.
We need to learn how to be human, not spiritual. We're all spiritual. We're all multidimensional beings that came here to figure out what this game is. My new song that just dropped the other day, Caught in the Meantime, is a song just to sort of lament how did we all get here playing a game with no rules? Nobody knows the rules,
Mhm.
so mind you, hopefully this book, Your Healing is a Song, gives you the rules, because there are rules. There are, and we're all starting to learn them, which is fantastic. And I feel things are going quite quickly with the people who are starting to understand that we live in a vibrational universe, and that vibration is the language of the universe, and our bodies are fluent in it. Our bodies know what's going on, and we need to learn to listen to our bodies because
Yeah.
it's everything we need to know.
Well, a lot of people are getting like false signals and running into like, a lot of noise
Mm,
and a lot of stuff that's like, it's not it's not the real like thing. So
no,
like if people are able to mimic and clone and copy, then they appear to be have that connection. So like if I was getting pulled to a guy like if you think about like a Bob Marley was very kind of in tune with a certain vibe.
yeah,
Eh, but if I just copy that and sample that, it doesn't really have the impact that he had in real time. And
no,
you have a piece of it and you think you got it, but it's not like if you go and say, well, how could I channel that in a different way? How could I be like, you know, coming from that space, but do it in real time? People would rather sample that and copy it and just send it through a DJ rather than actually trying to take the work.
mm,
And it takes work. And so people are getting lazy
yes,
in terms of like musicians have always taken the time to get into their craft. And now we've got people more like producers than
mm,
musicians. They're saying, well, I can do it, but
yeah,
you didn't put any time into the craft.
yeah.
So what are you actually giving us?
Look, I think the world's going to split into people who demand live, real music from real people, and those that haven't understood what's being put into their bodies. Your
Mhm.
junk food music. So, and my audience may be small. That's okay. It's like if people just understood the preventative medicine of live music, they'd be filling all the little clubs where we all play. And I'll just say for the men out there, girls, female brains respond to jazz because of its more complicated nature, and it makes them really like the person they're with. Did you know that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just a more complex. It's not like,
Yeah,
you think about something that's like kind of like, I don't know, like a simple rock song that's just more of a pop rock song and or like a hip hop song or it
yeah,
doesn't pull you like
no,
something like if you get pulled into Brubeck, you get pulled
yeah,
into Davis, you get pulled into Coltrane, the Weather Report, Herbie Hancock. Like there's something about when you're in that it feels like you're not just like trying to just have I think what people get into are more like the what is it called? The hook.
mm,
Like a lot of pop music's all about the hook.
yeah.
And it's about this like they're stuck on the hook. And it's like it doesn't have a lot more depth in the hook.
Yeah.
But the jazz has a lot more depth in the hook. It's like telling a story, it's telling a lot more. It's like showing a lot more.
When I first started writing, and I was writing a musical, but it was a pop musical, and I had all these wonderful songs, and we recorded them in a pop way, and there's just something was missing. And this was before I was doing jazz and did not realize what all that was. But it wasn't until like I just wonder why is everything taking so long? So every artist, why is everything taking so long? But when I finally got to Mark Fitzgibbon, who I think is one of the best jazz pianists in the world and one of the most beautiful accompanists, which is a rare thing for a jazz guy to be a great accompanist and a
Mhm.
great improviser. And he is both. And it wasn't until I got to him, and everybody said I was crazy making these tunes into like getting jazz guys to play my songs.
Mhm.
Basically, I think I write country songs. I
Mhm.
think they're pretty simple, really. I just like a good story and a pretty melody.
Mhm.
Then you pull in amazing jazz guys, and it talk about expansion. The music just went like that,
It
and I
goes like yeah, it just becomes a whole different level.
this is what I've been waiting for. And Mark, until I worked with Brad Rabuchin, who is a really fantastic LA guitarist. I just did 8 songs with him in December as a duo. It was just an experiment, but Jesus, it was really interesting. Brad toured with Ray Charles for 5 years, so
That's awesome.
he crosses over between jazz and I mean he can play anything. He's
Like
amazing.
blues and jazz and country
Yeah,
and everything. Yeah.
we did 8 new songs, and it was a really interesting experiment. We met the day before, did a little rehearsal, went into the studio, and I basically was like, "You just do what you do, Brad. I'll
Yeah.
do what I do. Let's see what happens." And it was just
Well, those kind of collaborations are always, I love it when you can just get like with somebody, it's like in the same, like in the same vibration space as you. And then I love going in a group of musicians, and then I don't have to tell them the chord charts. I don't have to tell them, like, if I start playing, the drummer knows what to kind of go with what I'm putting down, right?
yeah,
And the guitar player knows and it starts to come together because there's some kind of synergy that works. And that I've
you're right
worked with like
there.
lyricists and vocalists that suddenly
Yeah,
come in and say they know what to put with what we're putting down.
'cause you're listening.
Yeah, people are just listening to what's happening, and they're pulling their ego out and they're saying, let's see what we can do together.
Mm,
Let's see how we can kind of work as this, like a band is like a team, and when you're on, you're making that play, and like you're all like, oh, it's working. You're gonna actually win. You're gonna do it because it's like there's this, I don't know, nonverbal communication that can happen,
mm.
and it just works. And I love it when that comes together. And people say, "Well, how does that happen?" It's like it's very hard to describe because it's like, I mean, it happens.
Look, I mean, obviously, jazz musicians study probably more than doctors. People don't realize this. They have training that goes beyond doctors, what doctors have to do. A great jazz musician is a technician and an artist and someone who's in tune with their soul and is open to the chant. They're like a whole package.
Yeah.
It's exciting, just utterly exciting to I would say, okay, first of all, people would think I would never listen to jazz, blah, blah, blah. Malcolm Gladwell, in his book Blink, said the only reason people don't like something new is because they're unfamiliar with it, which is why I say also you need to listen to these songs at least 6 times
Hmm.
for the full benefit. Because by the 6th time, I know, not only will you like the song, you will be singing it, which is also excellent for the human body. Singing, excellent for the human body. So you just have to get familiar with it. And going to see jazz live is a very different experience than listening on the radio or Spotify. You are seeing fingers flying, drummers, bass
Yeah.
players. It's like, I'll never forget doing a gig once in a little wine shop, and it was packed to the rafters. And this man said, "Is that piano player playing all those notes, or does the piano play some too?" And I was like, "Oh, what?" I could not believe it. I was like, no, the piano player is playing everything. It's like so interesting. So it's a familiarity. It is the beautiful harmonics and the voicings of the chords. This is what I found in my music, that my music and my stories and my simple little melodies absolutely needed this depth of
Voicing. Yeah.
voicing that jazz gives,
But yeah, because I mean, they got the rigor of a classical musician. They
Mm,
know the same kind of level of music theory,
mm,
but they can kind of turn on a dime in
yes,
an improvisational way that maybe a classical musician that isn't really trained to do that.
yeah,
They got the technical skill, but I've run into classical musicians. If you put them in an improvisational setting, sometimes they have a hard time
yeah,
because they don't know what, they never been given the permission structure.
Yeah.
in the way that they play to be able to kind of choose
Yeah.
that path. And
Yeah.
I was always surprised, like, you got the capability of going down that path, but your mind is telling you can't,
Yeah.
'cause that your training has been so rigorous
Right.
with Chopin and Bach
It's
and what
a way of
and
thinking
yeah,
and an openness.
they're
And
tied into a certain structure, you know?
it just amazes me how little jazz musicians get paid. I mean, especially in Australia. I mean, we're isolated. We
Mm.
don't do a lot of touring because airfares here are really expensive. So we really kind of stick to our cities. And knowing the value that we're giving people, it just amazes me. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't,
you guys should be able to get to New York and LA and be
yeah.
able to kinda spread out, go to,
Well,
London, go to
the
Berlin.
LA musicians don't get paid any more than we do.
Yeah, that's
It's
the problem. Well, all musicians are getting pushed by the EDM DJ culture is the flavor of the week, and
yeah,
they're getting this mega dollar for not that much level of expertise,
but
and
it
so
also
I'm like
we're in it for the art. We're in it for the feeling. We're in it for the creative nature of it. We're in it to feel that muse going through us. That's what we're in it for, you
I
know.
think the public is getting starved by the lack of innovation and authenticity and vulnerability of
Yeah,
some of the current art forms that are out there,
yeah,
and, I've seen that the numbers are people are going back and listening to stuff from other decades,
yeah,
and they're going back and finding out about Sun Ra, finding out about Coltrane, finding out about Davis, finding out about Weather Report, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that like, this level of musicianship. I didn't know this level of, like, feeling that when I listen to one of these compositions, like, wow,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
how does that make" they realize it's making them feel deeper
Yes.
than some of the stuff that they're hearing in the popular music, and I didn't know I could get brought into that feeling, you
Mm.
know? And I think that's gonna start to shift people saying, "I want people to go in that direction again."
Yeah, it would be nice. It's yeah.
Well, there's
I'm
always
so
I think people find a path and they find out, like, I'm not satisfied with the current state.
yeah, that's the goal. Not satisfied. That's
Yeah.
and that prompts you to find out what does satisfy you, because satisfaction actually is one of the highest vibrating states you can be in. So, I can't get no satisfaction.
Yeah.
That's not a great state to be in. So what you want to do is what makes you feel satisfied with yourself. Like
Mhm.
it to me, it goes along with confidence. People think they can talk themselves into being confident. I'll
Mhm.
just talk to myself, I'll do affirmations, but they don't realize we live in a physical world, and it is usually physical actions that have the most effect on our
The
lives.
most
And
weight.
confidence is you doing something that's you couldn't do, and you stick at it and you do it, and then you think, yeah, I I can learn something new. I can do this.
Yeah.
That's confidence.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
pushing your comfort zone, going into areas and expanding, Coltrane did it by pushing himself
mm,
and pushing, like, his level of, like, learning all these skills, learning all this capability, and then finding ways to push himself to
mm,
where he started to do a style that no one was doing. Like, because he pushed the envelope. And when you push the envelope, you go into areas that are kind of unknown, and like you said, the muse opens up that
yeah.
you can channel, and then the universe says, "Hey, this guy wants it, so I'm
Yeah.
going to download it to him."
Well, I just made a commitment to myself to see what would come out, and I didn't judge it. And there are no songs that sound like mine, and yet, if you strip them back, and I'm thinking of doing this too, um, back to just guitar and the story, they hold up beautifully. But at the moment, they're hugely artistic works of art because of the band, because
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Mark.
Well, it's cool to have maybe both ways, because
Yeah,
sometimes I like to kind of what they call like the what is the unplugged versions, and
yeah,
then you have the orchestrated versions,
yeah,
and the people there's a value in people showing like the different level because then there's different focus. It's like a filmmaker who makes certain choices in the lens, in the frame of what you're going to see. And then if you cut the film one way, then you get it this way. You cut it this way, you get it that way. So it's like
exactly.
it's always good. I mean, I'm a big fan of looking at multiple cuts of
Yeah,
how something could happen from music to film to anything, and seeing like, okay, well, this was the process of how did they come to this decision to have to frame it this way versus that way,
mm,
you know?
yeah.
And I always find it entertaining and interesting.
Because sometimes, I mean, I think the music behind the first two albums of original stuff is so expansive and beautiful. I think sometimes you can't really hear the story. And so it was really interesting. I have Standards album. That's my jazz album that I'm slowly releasing to Spotify. But then going in and doing just Brad and Me, where he was so spacious,
Mhm.
left all this room
Right.
for me that
Mhm.
my vocal producer was like, wow, you're really exposed here.
That's
And I,
good sometimes to have the space between the notes and to
yeah,
not have it so because some people want to fill out all the spaces, and sometimes it's good to have it kind of
well, it was
barren.
yeah,
So, but
it was
yeah,
really
to kind of get to it.
yeah, it was a different experience of really just being more the focus. Because I mean, I'm a team player. I like everybody being all in together. I don't want to stand out.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
in particular, even though I'm the front person in the band and I talk to the audience and stuff like that. But this really made me kind of the focus. So it was an interesting thing and I did enjoy it. I have to work, it takes a lot more effort to get it really right, but
Yeah.
really fun. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I love having our conversation. We hit like the hour mark faster than we ever think. We always hit the hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we always hit it, and it's like because like because like jazz is like we have this conversation, we let it evolve, and we have a good time kind of talking.
Listens. People will like jazz if they give it 6 listens.
Oh yeah, well I'm a big devotee. Like anybody who likes like the idea of expansion, if you like the idea of being able to heal through art, I think this is something that you should check out, and I want you to check out ConnieLansberg.com. And if people click on that, that's how they get in touch with like what you're all the projects that you're working on, right? They can
Yes,
start
and
there.
they can sign up, and if they sign up to the email, they get a energetic wellness gift, musical gift, and
Mhm,
explains to them how it works. They get the song "Some Other Time," which doesn't even have improv in it, but it's the most exquisite piece of music. "Some Other Time," Mark
mhm,
Fitzgibbon on piano, which dislodges the stuck energy of fear, which you don't even know you're running from sometimes. You're running off of, but it's affecting your life. So you get a PDF that explains how this works and what to look
awesome.
for. And so they can start there. And then the book's coming out July 6th.
That's awesome. So you got the book coming out shortly in July. I want to let people know that that URL link is clickable. We were just live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We will be on Spotify video podcast, Apple podcast, iHeartRadio podcast, and Amazon podcast, plus a bunch of other podcasts. And we have a Substack. So I want to thank you again for being a guest on the Fam Electricos podcast.
Thank you for having me. It was just so much fun.
Thank you. Have a good night or day. I always forget what time zone we're in. I'm in the nighttime right now, but
It's
thank you.
12,
Yeah.
12 p.m. Just what turned noon here in
Oh,
Australia.
yeah, we're in like nighttime here, but thank you.